So I know I'm kind of zoomed in on a little spot here. But what I'm doing now is I'm trying to make these rocks become part of the water, or at least make them feel as though they're sitting in the water, you know? To me, at the moment, the left-hand side of this forward boulder or bedrock seems to be sitting. It's not literally floating, but visually floating on the water. So I'm going to try to introduce a little bit of light right off the back end of it and cut across the water and just see if that helps. I'm pretty sure it's going to, but that's my plan, and that's why I'm zoomed in and doing this. Let's see if this little bit of effort helps with that. I think it will. It usually does. Okay. Alright, I think that's going to do the job. See, once I lay some paint on, if I don't like exactly what I've got, I can carve it off with that same knife, eh? I think what I'm going to do is bring this line over more to the left as well, or maybe just lighten this area a little bit. Yeah, let's give that a shot. You know, it's not a very important area, but it's important enough. Let's see what happens if I do that. Yeah, I think I like that. Yeah, you might not see a big difference yet, but in a minute, when I back the camera up, I think you will notice a significant change here. It's all part of getting the water organized. Alright, that probably, from the angle you're seeing it, didn't look that important. But from my vantage point, I think it was good to do that. Now I can leave it alone. So, I scraped a lot of the color off that I put on, but when I put that initial color on to sort of, to establish the temperature of the paint, the general look, the general sort of the average colors, hues, and values I'd be using, I knew I'd be removing a bunch of it. so I've done that, and then, you know, sort of just groomed and taken the colors that were on here and used them to sculpt various areas and slowly get organized. I'm still trying to keep it loose, but as you can see, that attitude of the water, or rather the wavelets, the ridges of wavelets, or riffles, are sort of leaning down to the left. That's why I left that reminder in there. That's why I started with the initial indexing lines. That's why I laid the paint in the way I did. And now I have quite a play of color in the water itself. All I have to do now is take that same color and organize it. You know, move, you know, some color from one place to another, and so on. It's a series of aids that I like to have when I'm painting. Anyway, so, you know, we pretty much just have the top inch done. That's all. Now I can work my way down, and the water is already beginning to take shape. And as you can see, there is already variety. Well, the distance between this and this is a little too narrow. I'm going to widen it, and I'm going to start putting some strength into this thing. I think I'm becoming too much of a chicken. So let's start to loosen up these bands. You know, these lines are establishing the you know, the angle of the water-ish. I think now it's time to just paint some water and not worry too much about things. Back to using this little knife, and I think we'll get rid of it. We will get rid of that. Let's go back to the larger one. Not the really big one, but this one, which is still not a big knife. But for me, sometimes I'm like a frightened child. Or maybe I'm always like a frightened child. But either way, right now I would rather be a little more brave with my colors here. I'm tempted to put more color in down here, but I think I'm going to tone it down a little bit. I would so like to put some stronger color here somewhere. I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do, but let's just go with it. Let's see how it goes. Okay, you'll see that the strokes towards the edge of the painting are less definite, you know, here than they are here. That again is support for the focal area, hey? We soften everything on the edge. We definitely want to do that on this painting because, well, we've got all this up here. We want our strength to stay up top, not to be down here. We cannot compete with these trees, even though I'm going to soften them later. So let's not even try it. Let's just keep it darker. And it's funny, even, you know, painting it like this or putting it together like this too, you have an underpainting, or rather I had a stain, not so much an underpainting. Then I laid all that color on quickly. Then I scraped a lot of it off while I was grooming and forming, and I like to call it sculpting the surface or sculpting the painting. But it still is sort of a mass of color. It's not until you lay your designs in, and certainly your highlights on, that you begin to see that it is a surface that's coming towards you. And that's where it gets a little trickier, you know, to show that. But it's just kind of a flat thing until you lay your highlights in. And that's where this whole idea of perspective, I believe I've explained that before, you know, as you're farther away, if you're going to have highlights streaking across your water, lay them close together, and as you get closer, they have to be farther apart, and your strokes should be broader and stronger as well. You know, so if these two are 1/8 of an inch apart, then that's, you know, ideally 1/4 of an inch, and then that's 1/2 an inch, and then that's 1 inch, and then that's 2 inches, etc., etc. That's a little too mathematical. It doesn't work that perfectly, but I think you know what I mean. Anyway, what I really wanted to do was just show you this little bit before I give up for the day. Because I felt as though today's video, or the earlier video today, was kind of weak. It was just kind of a mishmash of things, and that's not so bad, but at least you can sort of see where I'm heading with this. So I know it's a shorty, we'll call it at that, and I think we will then see you after the weekend. Hope you all have a great weekend. And we'll talk to you soon.